Last night, you hallucinated vividly, convincingly, and without any conscious awareness that it was not real. You may have flown, or you may have been chased through the night. You may have found yourself back in your childhood home where the staircase went somewhere. It never went. The person sitting at the kitchen table was someone you have not seen in 20 years, and none of this struck you as unusual. You may have experienced terror, ecstasy, grief, or a nameless emotion that does not map onto anything you feel while awake. And then you woke up, and within minutes, the entire experience evaporated into nothingness. It left behind nothing but a faint emotional residue, and perhaps a single fragmentary image that you could not explain if you tried. This is dreaming, and you do it every single night. Every mammal on Earth does it, and birds do it too. Some reptiles appear to do it, and even the cuttlefish shows signs of this behavior. A cephalopod separated from us by 500 million years of evolution displays something that looks unsettlingly like REM sleep. It shows rapid chromatophore flashes that suggest it is seeing things that are not there. Dreaming is one of the most ancient and deeply conserved biological phenomena in the animal kingdom, and yet we have no idea why we do it. Think about how strange that is. We spend roughly 6 years of our lives inside hallucinations that we cannot control or remember reliably. We cannot distinguish them from reality while they are occurring. This is a massive investment of time and neural energy for something with no agreed upon function. If dreaming were useless, evolution should have eliminated it long ago. The fact that it persists is essential, as depriving a rat of REM sleep will kill it as quickly as starving it. It suggests that dreaming is doing something utterly fundamental, but we just cannot agree on what. Let us start with the biology, because the biology of dreaming is where the weirdest evidence lives. In 1953, a graduate student named Eugene Aserinsky was working the night shift in a sleep laboratory at the University of Chicago. He had been assigned the tedious task of monitoring sleeping infants with an electroencephalograph. And he noticed something peculiar. At regular intervals, the infants' eyes would begin darting back and forth beneath their closed lids, as though they were watching something. Their breathing would quicken, and their heart rates would rise. Their brainwave patterns would shift from the slow, rolling waves of deep sleep to something that looked almost identical to an awake, alert brain. Aserinsky had discovered REM sleep, and with it, the physiological signature of dreaming. This discovery transformed sleep science. Before Aserinsky, sleep was understood as a passive state. The brain was simply powering down for the night, like a computer entering sleep mode. After Aserinsky, it became clear that sleep is an active, structured process. It involves multiple distinct phases the brain cycles through roughly every 90 minutes. One of those phases, M, is so metabolically active that the brain consumes more oxygen. It actually consumes more during REM than it does during many waking activities. Far from shutting down, the dreaming brain is an energetically demanding state. But here is the first genuinely strange fact. REM sleep is not evenly distributed. Newborn human infants spend approximately 50% of their sleep time in REM. That is 8 hours a day of intense hallucinatory neural activity. This happens before they have had a single life experience to dream about. By adulthood, REM occupies only about 20% of sleep. By old age, it is even less. This pattern, an enormous REM investment early in life, is consistent across every mammal. It suggests dreaming is most urgently needed when the brain is still under construction. This gave rise to the ontogenetic hypothesis, also known as the neural warm-up theory. The idea advanced by J. Allen Hobson is that REM serves to calibrate the developing brain. It works from the inside in the absence of external sensory input. A fetus cannot see, and a newborn cannot explore the world in any meaningful way. But their brain still needs to wire itself to establish synaptic connections. It needs to prune excess neurons and rehearse patterns for perception, movement, and cognition. Dreaming is the brain's way of testing its own wiring before operating in the real world. It is an internal simulation environment, a virtual reality training program in the hardware. This is a compelling theory, but it does not explain why adults continue to dream. If dreaming is just a tool for building brains, it should disappear once finished. It does not. And adult dreams are often vivid, emotionally intense, and narratively coherent. They involve recognizable people, familiar places, and recurrent themes like being chased or falling. Being unprepared for an exam or showing up naked in public are common. These themes are not random, as studies have found striking commonalities in every society. Dreams of being pursued or flying appear in nearly every culture on Earth. If dreams were just random neural noise, this cross-cultural consistency would be inexplicable. The alternative theory, the one that has gained the most traction in recent decades, is the threat simulation hypothesis, proposed by the Finnish neuroscientist Antti Revonsuo. Revonsuo's argument is elegantly simple, and it draws on the same evolutionary logic. That explains why other animals play, since play is a form of practice. A kitten stalking a ball of yarn is rehearsing the motor patterns it needs to hunt mice. A child playing hide and seek is rehearsing the cognitive skills of searching and evading, predicting the behavior of others. Play is evolution's way of building competence. In a safe, low-stakes environment, Revonsuo proposed that dreaming is the same thing. But for the most critical survival challenges a human being can face threats. His team analyzed thousands of dream reports and found threats are vastly disproportionate. Over 2/3 of adult dreams contain at least one threatening element, and the threats are overwhelmingly realistic. Animal attacks, aggressive strangers, natural disasters, interpersonal conflicts, not monsters or fantasy scenarios. Furthermore, the dreamer's response to these threats is usually adaptive and effective. You fight, you flee, you hide. In the dream, you practice surviving. The threat simulation hypothesis is not universally accepted. Critics point out many dreams aren't. Some are joyful, erotic, or simply bizarre, but Revonsuo's theory doesn't need to explain everything. It only needs to explain why dreaming evolved and why it persists. And the evidence for the threat simulation function is strong enough to lead the account. But there is a second, stranger piece of evidence that complicates these theories. And it comes from cephalopods. In 2012, researchers observed something extraordinary in the common cuttlefish. During quiescent periods, sleep, or something like it, the cuttlefish displayed rapid skin changes. Colors rippled across their bodies in sequences similar to their waking camouflage patterns. Occasionally, they would flash a pattern associated with seeing a predator, followed immediately by a burst of ink as though they were dreaming of being attacked. This is not conclusive evidence that cuttlefish dream in any human sense, but it is deeply suggestive, seeing as they separated from our lineage 500 million years ago. Their brains are donut-shaped nerve rings with distributed processing throughout their arms. If cuttlefish have REM sleep, then dreaming is not just a mammalian invention, it is an ancient fundamental feature of complex nervous systems. Whatever it is older than bones, older than limbs, older than the concept of a vertebrate. This brings us to the radical possibility that dreaming is the state consciousness defaults to. Neuroscientist Rodolfo Linz argued that wakefulness is not the baseline state of the brain. Wakefulness is just sensory input constraining the brain's intrinsic activity. What we call consciousness is a continuous dream edited by the outside world. When sensory input drops, the editing stops and the raw dream resumes. This is a vertiginous idea, meaning the real illusion is the waking world. It is a version of reality your brain constructs always incomplete. Always a simulation. Dreaming is just that simulation running without any data. If this is true, the question of why we dream is entirely backwards. The real question is why we ever stop. We wake up, we forget the dream, and we go about our day. We are confident that we are perceiving reality as it actually is. Then night falls, the sensory input fades, and the simulation resumes. You hallucinate again, you fly or you fall, you sit across from someone whose face you do not recognize. Their presence fills you with a sense of loss that lingers after you open your eyes. It is a ghost of an emotion with no referent in the waking world. You try to hold on to the memory, but it slips away like water through fingers. By the time your feet hit the floor, the dream is gone. But the dream was never the point. The point was what it did to your brain. It filed memories, rehearsed threats, and calibrated your neural machinery. You spend 16 hours navigating a world that is just a better constrained hallucination. You cannot remember the dream, but you cannot function without it. Every decision you make today was shaped by hours of maintenance you cannot access. You are not a creature that sometimes dreams. You are a dream that sometimes wakes.